Good evening and welcome to Friday Night All Levels Yoga. So tonight maybe we could start and just sit for a moment. So I'm going to get a block to sit on. And you might have something at home that you use to sit comfortably. Hi Sasha, I'm just going to move this down for the moment. So I'm just checking in to see if you have any requests for this evening, or if Shivanti's there, or your mom, if anybody has any check-ins. Hi, good to see you too. Feet and legs, cool. Yeah, we can do that for sure. So let's start in a seated position. And I was just getting ready to teach, and then at the last minute I was like, I better run and use the bathroom before I do this. And then I got all winded, and so I need to just ground myself for a moment before we begin. So find your seat. Bringing yourself into a place where you're kind of balanced. So you might sway back and forth a bit and feel your sit bones heavy and somewhat balanced. And then feeling your spine rising up, bringing your head right on top of your shoulders. The front of your chest is open. Feeling your rib cage over the pelvis. So there's a sense of balance. The head is not forward. And then you can begin to bring your awareness to your breath. And you could close your eyes if you'd like, or just find a soft gaze. So just noticing your breath. How does it feel? Coming in and out through your nose. Feeling grounded. And then just starting to perhaps lengthen the breath a bit. So perhaps you can make your inhales and exhales more alike, more balanced. Noticing if you have any tension in your face that you can release, or in your jaw. And just taking a few more breaths. Feeling heavy in your lower body and feeling the way your spine rises up. Lengthening up through the crown of the head. And then you could bring your hands together at your heart. And if you'd like to set an intention for your practice this evening, you could do that, or a dedication. And just pause for a moment. You could bow your head to your heart. Taking a couple breaths. And then releasing your hands, and if you're sitting on something, just setting it off to the side. I'm going to back up and, I'm going to bring the camera up. There we go. Making sure I have it set right. And I'm going to come to stand at the front of my mat. So, similar to how you found your seat, find your standing mountain pose. So this time it's not your sit bones, it's the bones of your feet. So feeling that same, or exploring that same sensation of whether you're heavier on one side, and seeing if you can bring some balance into your standing mountain pose. And again, feeling for your spine, lengthening up. Whenever the head comes forward, even a little bit, it really increases the weight of the head on the neck and shoulders. So bringing the back of your head back. And then finding your breath here. You could bring your hands together at your heart in Anjali Mudra. Relaxing your face and jaw, and finding your breath. Nice steady breath. And then we'll raise the arms up, lengthening up. So really feeling grounded, feeling your feet on the floor, toes are spreading, and then lifting and lengthening up. Letting the shoulder blades slide down your rib cage, even as you're reaching. Finding a neutral spine, so lifting pubic bone, grounding your sacrum. One more breath here, lifting your gaze, and then exhale, come forward, hinging forward at the hip, long spine. Keeping your shoulder blades on your back. And again, feeling the feet on the floor here, your feet are hip width. You might be able to feel the arches of your feet kind of lifting, feeling how that corresponds with your belly. Your belly's lifting a bit. Steady breath. You can keep your knees bent as much as you need to. And just one more breath here. We'll step the left foot back, bringing the knee down. And coming all the way up, bringing your weight back and up over your left knee. And letting the arms come up, lifting the gaze. And finding your breath here. Steady breath. And then exhale, bring your hands down and let's step to downward facing dog. So just consciously making your way back to downward facing dog. Hands are spreading, pressing into the palms and the fingertips, so feeling all of the parts of your hands touching the floor. You might feel the palms lifting a little bit, just like the arches of the feet, wrapping your elbows in. Shoulder blades here are sliding, and maybe bending into one knee and the other. Keeping your neck long. And just moving a bit. And then coming back to center. And exhale forward into plank pose. And holding plank for a couple of breaths. Our pose of the year to honor Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who does planking regularly as part of her regimen of staying healthy. So feeling plank in your whole body, the legs are involved, lifting your navel, and then let your knees come down and do a couple of cat-cows, finding your spine. So round your spine, exhale, and then arching the back, inhaling and moving back and forth like that a few times. And then from there, just tuck your toes and stretch the bottoms of your feet a little bit by bringing your hips back. Maybe stretching, you can feel the stretch in the back of your leg, lower leg or ankle. And then coming forward, let's just come onto our belly and come into Sphinx pose to start. So bringing the forearms to the floor, elbows a little bit in front of the shoulders. Legs are fairly close together, lifting belly. Feeling your chest opening, like you're dragging your belly forward. Feeling the extension in your spine. Nice steady breath. And then bringing your hands underneath your shoulders, bend your knees, keeping your elbows tucked in, and tucking your toes and lifting up into downward facing dog again. And this time, maybe stepping your right foot up and over the left, lifting your right hip. Keep reaching through your right hand. And then stepping back to center, left foot comes over the right. And lifting your left hip, separating the pelvis from the rib cage, feeling it in your waistline. Up into the rib cage and then back to center. Pause for a breath. And then we'll step the left foot forward, bring the right knee down, coming up. And we'll let the arms float up. Lifting gaze, finding your breath. Just kind of noticing how you're feeling in your body this evening. And how the breath changes things. Taking one more breath here, and then stepping forward, again into your forward bend, finding your long spine. Feet again are hip width. Steady breath. You have your knees bent, keeping that lumbar curve. And then sweeping the arms up, lengthening up, and reaching. Again, grounding sacrum, lifting your pubic bone, lift your sternum, and exhale, bringing hands together at your heart. And just pause for a moment. Just bringing your attention back to your breath. And let's go again. I'm going to switch directions. We'll lift the arms up again, reaching. Feeling the sensation of sinking while lengthening up and lifting. Exhale, come forward into your forward bend. Long spine. Just another breath here. And then we'll step the right foot to the back of the mat. Coming up into Warrior One with your back heel lifted. So squaring your hips. Bending your back knee so that the pelvis can stay in that same position where pubic bone's lifting, sacrum's grounding. Maybe coming a little deeper into the bend of your front knee. And then exhale, bring the hands down, step back to downward facing dog, moving consciously through your transitions between poses. And here you could try a shoulder variation of downward dog where maybe your right hand reaches for your left lower leg or ankle. Maybe looking up underneath the left arm. So feeling that a little bit in the back of your right shoulder. And then at the same time wrapping your left elbow in so your left shoulder blade can slide. Coming back to center, then reaching for your right lower leg or ankle with your left hand. Finding the breath here, staying with the steady breath. Ujjayi breathing. And then back to center. And then we'll exhale forward into plank pose again. So the hips are right in between the heels and the crown of the head. Strong legs. Keeping your head lifted, so not dropping the head. Lifting belly. And then coming all the way down onto your belly, you could drop your knees, keeping the elbows by your sides. Sweeping your arms back, clasping your hands at your sacrum, and rolling up, lifting your toes. And we'll kind of roll from side to side, so coming onto your left side maybe. Letting the head come back. Feeling your right shoulder blade. And then rolling back through center over to the other side. And breathing. And then back onto your belly for a breath or two. And You're releasing your hands and making your way back to downward facing dog. You can always come through prayer if you need a break. Lifting your hips. And finding your breath here. And then you could take either one of those two variations we did, or you could put them together. You could step your right foot back over the left foot, maybe reaching for your right lower leg or ankle with your, with your right hand. Really strong in your left arm, pressing into the hand. And then coming back to center, stepping left foot over right, maybe reaching for left foot with left hand. You can also reach for your right ankle. And then back to center. And one breath there. And then we'll step the right foot to the front of the mat and come up. Bending your back knee as much as you need to find this same neutral orientation of your pelvis and lower back. Finding your gaze. Staying focused with the breath and the gaze. And then stepping forward. Coming into your forward bend. Letting your breath be primary, so noticing if the breath becomes, if you're having trouble breathing or if your breath is getting really ragged, and just backing off a little bit. There's lots of ways to bring your practice to a different level of challenge. So forward bends are they're a little more calming to your nervous system. So take another breath here, and then we'll swing the arms up. Reaching up. And one more breath. And exhale, bring your hands together at your heart. Just pause for a moment. And then let's step wide on the mat. And let's do a moon salutation. So we'll turn the toes, let's start actually the left toes turning towards the front of the mat. And we'll start with triangles. So you could bring your hands back and clasp your hands at your sacrum. And then, that was my hip popping. Bending into triangle with both hips drawing back. And if you have your hands clasped, you can use that to kind of open your chest. Long in the underneath side of your torso. You can bring the left hand to the lower leg or to the floor and come into the more traditional variation. Opening the chest, really feeling both feet firmly on the floor. One more breath there. Whoop. And then we'll bend into the left knee and sweep your right arm up. Actually, coming into your extended side angle, we might want to take that same armless variation where you clasp your hands. You can do that for a few breaths. And again, the gaze is kind of up if you can, keeping the neck long. And then maybe releasing your elbow to your knee or down towards the ankle, bringing the right arm up and over. Your palm kind of turns towards the back behind you. And one more breath there. And then coming up, and we're going to turn, pivot, and come into our warrior one again. So letting the back knee slowly come towards the floor. And then taking a variation of this crescent lunge. So you might reach back for your foot. You could come into the mermaid variation. Or just stay in this variation, you can bring your hand back to your thigh. So feeling that deeper stretch in the front of your right hip and your quads. Just one more breath there. And then releasing the foot if you have it, swinging your hips back and coming to sit on your heel is one variation. You could also, if that's hard on your ankle, you could bring the sole of your foot to the inside of your thigh, coming forward into a forward bend, or you can also come into Hanumanasana, into your splits. I'm going to stay with this variation here. So finding your long spine, and you're hinging again at the hip. So if you're in this variation, in this pose, some energy in the left leg. So the toes are drawing back. And just another breath. And then coming back up, bringing the sole of your right foot onto the inside of your left thigh, bringing right hand back towards your hip and swinging up. You can look right down at your hand, kind of pressing the hips forward. So in this kind of half back bend. And then swinging the hand back around. You can come back through whatever pose you were doing before, either this Mahamudra, or you could come back to your original pose, sitting on the heel. Just taking a breath or two there. And then coming forward, we're going to come into the revolved twisted lunge. So coming, you can start with your knee on the floor, so right knee down, bringing your elbow to the outside of your left knee, your right elbow, and coming into the twist, you might then tuck your toes and lift your knee, turning the heel in towards center and lifting underneath your right thigh, turning your head to look behind you if you can, opening the chest. And then releasing that, we'll step your back leg in, coming into pyramid pose. So feet are hip width, toes are angled out towards the edge of the mat. I'm just taking a few breaths here, drawing the left hip back, the right hip comes forward a little, long spine. No rounding, so you can bring your hands up higher if you need to. And then twist it. So lifting left arm, continuing to draw your left hip back, and opening your chest. Revolve triangle, taking a breath or two here. And then releasing that, and just pause for a moment in pyramid. And then turning back towards your restful, wide-legged forward bend. So just taking a few breaths here, maybe bending into one knee and the other, just being easy with it. Taking a rest before we do the other side. You could clasp your hands at your sacrum and stretch into your shoulders. Release your hands. And then maybe bring your hands to your hips and come all the way up. And we'll turn the toes of the right foot towards the front of the mat. And coming into triangle to begin with, like we did on the other side. So maybe with the hands clasped, letting the hips draw back. So the whole left side of your body is Opening. Keeping long in the underneath side of your torso. If your neck is bothered in this position, you can release your arms. You can always just look straight ahead or even look down, but just keeping the neck long. And then coming back up. And then we're going to bend into the right knee. So let's clasp the hands behind us, coming into this more core intensive variation of extended side angle. So the hips are reaching back towards the heel, opening the left hip, rolling the shoulders, and the rib cage up. Breathing. You could release your arms and come into a more traditional variation. Finding your steady breath, steady gaze. And then we'll come out of that pose. We'll turn towards the front of the mat. You might have to widen your feet a little bit. And we'll come into Warrior One. And let our left knee come down towards the floor. And then coming into that lunge. So maybe the hand comes back to the thigh, or you could also reach for your foot. And possibly bringing the foot into the bend of your elbow. Opening the chest. And just another breath. And then we'll release that and draw the hips back, coming into your variation like you did on the other side. So maybe sitting on the heel in this forward bend. Sometimes it helps to bring your hands back behind you just to keep that, keep yourself from rounding. Or yeah, you can reach for your foot, just trying to avoid crumpling over. So keeping your long spine and your steady breath. And sometimes people come into the variation with the foot in the thigh, so the left foot in the right, into the right thigh, or perhaps into splits. Just other options. And then if you're sitting on your heel, just bring that left foot into the inner thigh, into the right inner thigh, bringing your left hand back by your left hip, and lifting up, letting the hips push forward, looking down towards your hand. The palm of your right hand is turning to face the back of the room, so the shoulder can still slide, the shoulder blade. Breathing. And then sweeping the arm around. And coming back into the forward bend again. One more breath there. And then releasing that, we'll come forward. Let's leave our left knee down to begin with. So we'll come into the lunge and maybe bringing the hands together at the heart, bringing the left elbow to the right knee and turning and opening into this revolved lunge. Tucking your back toes, lifting the knee perhaps. And looking back behind you, really strong in your left leg. So turn the heel slightly in towards center and lift under your left thigh. And slowly releasing. And then we'll step the back foot in, coming into pyramid. So find your straight legs, feet are hip width. Staying here for a couple breaths, maybe the hands come to the floor, maybe to the leg, to a block. So finding your neutral spine and drawing your right hip back. So You could bend your knee a little bit, press into the mound under your big toe, and then draw your right hip back as you slowly straighten your right knee. Trying not to let the head drop. So just keeping the neck right in line with the rest of your spine, as it is part of your spine after all. And then we'll open into the twist. So lifting the right arm as you draw the right hip back. Really planting your feet on the floor, feeling the strength of your legs and how your chest can open. And lifting your belly. One more breath there. And then bringing that hand back down. Just pause for a moment in your pyramid, and then slowly turning. So you're in your wide-legged forward bend, bending into one knee and the other. Letting your upper body sort of move organically, just easing it out. You could try walking your hands forward, keeping your feet really centered so you're not rolling to the outer edges or collapsing to the inner edges of the feet. So you're kind of in like a wide-legged downward-facing dog. So feel where your hips are. You could kind of keep them centered in between your feet. So you're not leaning way back or coming forward. You're just kind of centered. Then maybe you could reach your right hand over for your left ankle, even as you reach your left hand forward. And then maybe walk your left hand over towards your left lower leg or ankle. And take a breath there. Letting your head relax. And then you can walk your hands forward again, coming back into your wide-legged, downward-facing dog position. Reaching forward with your right hand, take your left hand to your right ankle or lower leg. So you're kind of twisting. Reaching strongly through your right arm, drawing the right hip back, looking underneath the right arm. And you could bring the right hand to the right ankle or lower leg. Pretty big stretch of your legs. And then just walking the hands back to center. And let's just come down and come into frog pose. So bringing your knees wide. You can bring your feet more together. And again, finding the place for your hips where you feel a good sensation in the inner thighs. It might be intense, but you can kind of move the hips forward and backward a little. And then maybe you could flex your feet and come into this variation of frog where your lower legs are straight down from your knees. Might be more sensational. Nice steady breath, long spine. Letting your hands relax. It's easy to make fists in some of these poses, but that's just like clenching your jaw. It's unnecessary. Relax. So there's places where you do want to engage. So kind of figuring out where those are. Like for me, it would be a little bit my belly. And then come forward onto your belly. And walk your legs together. You can let your feet go side to side. And let's do a quad stretch while we're down here. So if this is too much, you could stand and do a standing quad stretch. So you could bring your right forearm across the front of the mat. Then reach back for your left foot. So maybe you're here, or maybe you can spin your fingers and bring the heel towards your buttock. Not twisting the knee, just bending it. And still kind of lifting up out of the floor, so kind of pressing into the forearm so you're not dumping into your shoulder. So standing and holding the foot is also fine. And releasing that side. And then we'll bring the left arm across the front of the mat. And reach back with the right hand. You might have one leg that's really different than the other. Or they might be really similar. Just noticing. Again, press into the floor, lengthen up. Breathing. And releasing that. And again, just come down and let your legs go side to side. You could also circle your ankles a little bit. And then let's try reaching back for the ankles. And let's try bow pose. So lifting up into bow, and we'll do side bow. So just like we did when we were in locust and we rolled onto our side, you could try that in bow. So make sure that your head isn't coming forward, let it come back and kind of feel how the top leg is also reaching back, the right foot is reaching back, and then roll back onto your belly and try the other side to get some momentum. Again, watching for the forward head. You might keep your toes together. The balls of the feet might be touching. And then rolling back onto your belly again. And you could take one more quad stretch by bringing your heels towards your buttocks. And then release. And just make a little shelf for your head and rock your hips side to side. Letting your breath come back to a calmer state. Sometimes the back bends can increase your heart rate. And your breath can be a little more labored. So bring your hands under your shoulders. Come back up to downward dog. And just take a couple breaths in your down dog. And then let's let your right leg float up. Keep your hips square. Press up through the heel. Maybe come up onto the ball of your left foot. So press into the hands and lengthen up through the heel. And draw your knee forward for pigeon. So just taking your time and coming forward. Taking some breaths here in pigeon pose. So finding a place where you can feel it in the outer hip rotator muscles. You might also feel it in your inner thigh, or I always feel it in the more lateral part of my thigh, like my IT band and hamstring. And again, keeping the hands relaxed, maybe the palms down on the floor so we're not doing anything with the hands other than relaxing them, relaxing the jaw. And then taking a twist, so maybe with the left arm across the front of the mat, and reaching your right hand back for your sacrum, or maybe to the foot. I like to come up onto my hand, but you can stay down also. So taking that twist. You can also reach your right hand for the foot if you're down there. So lots of possibilities. And then if you're in this variation, release your right hand and bring your left hand back for the foot. And see if you can get some quad stretching there. So you could bring the heel towards the buttock Just keeping the knee in a very solid, hinged position. So just another breath. I said legs, so I'm going for the quads pretty heavily. So releasing that. And then lean to your right. Swing your back leg around. And we'll come into a seated twist. So let go of your knee to begin with. Just see if you can find your seat without using your hands. And maybe your right leg is straight. And then come into the twist more with your breath to begin with before you yank yourself in. Just breathe yourself into the twist. And then you can use your arms however you want. Just noticing what your range of motion without your hands feels like. And then maybe you're pulling yourself in a little deeper or just supporting yourself with your hands. So the spine's just turning, lengthening up. You might turn your eyes to look behind you. Nice steady breath. And then turning back. And let's stack the knees and come into steer pose. So maybe the hands to the feet and just keeping your long spine. So maybe you're hinging forward. I also think sometimes it's helpful to bring the hands back here too if you have the tendency to round forward. And just taking your time. It's a deep stretch. And staying with your breath. And your gaze. So kind of losing yourself in your breath and your gaze. And then slowly coming back up. Then you might let go of your hands and just swing your right leg back, not using your hands. So you're back to pigeon, and then step up to downward dog. And bend into one knee and the other, just evening yourself out. Nice steady breath. You can always come to your prayer. In fact, let's come to prayer. Make your knees a little wider and just come to prayer for a couple breaths. Just reconnecting with your breath, maybe with your intention for practice, if you set one. Maybe walking the hands over towards the left. Keep reaching, drawing your right hip, right sit bone back. And then walking hands over towards the right. And back to center. And back up to downward facing dog. And then this time we'll let the left leg float up. Keeping the hips square, you could come up onto the ball of your right foot. And we'll draw the left knee forward for pigeon. So coming down maybe to the forearms. You can also have a block or something to support you if you need one. Just here you are on the other side. So feeling the difference in your hips. You might have the good side and the bad side. But, of course, it's kind of silly to say, like, I have a bad this or that. I have a bad back, or I have a bad hip, or... So just kind of working with what you've got in an honest way. And the breath will keep you honest. If you stay focused with your breath, you will know when you're pushing yourself into places that your body doesn't feel comfortable or that feel injurious, because your breath will just kind of stop. The flow will stop. It will become harder to breathe, The breath will become more kind of ragged or will stop altogether. So staying with that flow. And then we'll take our twist, so that might be with your forearm on the mat, reaching your right hand towards your left knee, maybe bringing left hand back to your sacrum or to your foot, or possibly like last time, I like to come up on my hand and reach back for my ankle in this twist. You can kind of press the ankle into the hand to kind of feel that shoulder stretch and back bend. Wherever you are, one more breath, and then we'll unwind that and reach back for the right foot with the right hand. Maybe finding some quad stretch there, bending the knee, bringing your foot in closer to your buttock perhaps. And the hips still pretty centered. And releasing your foot, leaning to your left, and swinging that leg forward. Coming into the seated twist again without your hands, so could be with your left leg straight in front of you. And breathing yourself in. Maybe then finding your hands as a support or a way to kind of leverage deeper. So just finding the breath, feeling grounded in both sit bones and lengthening up through the crown of the head. You could look back behind you with your eyes to complete the twist. And then slowly turning back towards the front of your mat, stacking your knees for steer pose. This time right on top of the left, and finding the length in your spine as you possibly hinge forward, keeping that neutral alignment of your spine. And just another breath. And then we'll come up and release your hands, swing your right leg back, coming back to pigeon, and then step up again to your downward facing dog. And kind of evening yourself out. And then bringing your knees down. And do a few cat-cow. So round the spine, let the head drop, exhale, inhale, arch your back. And just moving through cat-cow a few times. And then let's come back to hands and knees. Let's lift your left arm, really press into the right arm. And then we'll take a twist. So threading the needle with your left arm, bringing the left shoulder down and the head down. Sometimes you need a block to rest your head. So protect your neck. And you might stay here, or you could wiggle your feet back and come to lie on the arm. And if you do that, then maybe bringing your right arm down. The shoulder comes into the right shoulder will come into the elbow, right into the inner elbow of the left arm. Sometimes it's nice to have a pillow under the head here. We're not trying to screw up our neck, so keep the neck long. You can also just look straight down. That's why I kind of prefer being up on my knees, because it's easier for my neck. I can rest my head, and I still feel a really good stretch in my shoulders. And then just unwinding and coming back to your hands and knees again, and just Maybe circling your hips. And then we'll lift the right arm up and thread the needle, coming to lie on your right shoulder. And you can walk your feet back and lay down on your arm, or you can stay up on the knees and reach forward with the left hand. I like to spread my hand and wrap my elbow in so that the middle of my back broadens even more deeply. Finding your steady breath. And just another breath here. And then we'll slowly make our way back to hands and knees. And circle your hips a little, just releasing that. And then let's try lifting your right knee up. So you're lifting your heel up towards the ceiling, and then open your hip and draw the knee forward. So you're making a circle, it's pretty intense, then drop the knee down and around and back into the circle. So trying to mostly move the leg and your hip joint. Just making 3 or 4 of those circles, going slowly. Moving through that range of motion one last time. Whew. And then release it. You can kind of circle it out a little. We'll try the other side. So lift the knee, the foot comes up, and then open the hip. Knee comes out to the side and around slowly and down again, and then making that circle with your knee so the femur is circling around in the pelvis. The hip is moving through its range of motion in this way. And release. And then just circle your hips in one direction and the other, letting it go. Then try lifting your right foot up. Reach for the ankle with your left hand. So you're kind of pulling your ankle into your hand so that you're getting that lift. Your shoulders are staying square, hips are staying square. And you're breathing. And release that side. Circle it out. And then we'll lift the left knee and the foot. Reach back with the right hand. Again, keeping the hips and the shoulders pretty square. Nice steady breath. And releasing and circling. And then just let's come into child's pose. So sweep your hands back and come into that deep fold at the front of the hip. Let your head relax. You could put a block under it if you need to. And take a few breaths in child's pose. And then let's come back up. Let's come to our forearms and come up into dolphin. So the elbows are about the width of your shoulders. And you could spread your hands. You can also clasp your hands. This is a little bit easier on the shoulders. So pick the way you're going to do it and really press into your forearms and then lift up. You can bend the knees, but walking the feet in a little bit closer, lifting the hips. And then maybe you're sliding forward and back. Just coming through a comfortable range of motion for the shoulders with all that weight. So being thoughtful. Feel how your belly's helping you to move forward and back. And then release your knees and take a breath. You could bring your arms back for child's pose again. feels good. Just let your energy drop. And then let's come forward. This time we'll bring our forearms down and we'll come into plank with our forearms. So we'll do a forearm plank. So reach back with one leg and the other. The shoulders are over the elbows, lifting your belly. Legs are strong, taking some breaths here. Try to keep the breath steady and the gaze steady. Couple more breaths. And then drop your knees. Come onto your belly and just rock your hips a little bit, side to side. Let it go. Breathe into the belly. You can feel your belly pressing into the floor. So when you inhale, you can feel the belly expand against the floor. Maybe turn your head the opposite direction. And then let's try dancer's pose on our belly. So you can reach your left hand back for your left ankle. And your right arm comes forward, thumb pointing up, and then you just lift up. This is like a dancer's pose, but on the belly. So your thighs, both thighs are off the floor. Maybe you can pull yourself up a little higher. It's also kind of like a half a bow. And then release that, and just rocking your hips a little bit from side to side. Reaching back for your right ankle. Reaching left arm forward, thumb pointing up and lifting up. So kind of pulling your ankle into your hand to help you lift up. Breathing, steady breath, and releasing. And again, just rocking your hips side to side, letting it go. And then hands underneath your shoulders. Let's come back up to hands and knees. Finding your tabletop position. Let's reach back through the right foot, tuck your toes. You could stretch into the back of the leg a little. And then let that foot come up. Toes are pointing straight down, maybe reaching forward with your left arm. Top of your left foot could lift off the floor. And release. And circle the hips. Just letting it go. And we'll move on to the next, to the other side. Reach back with your left foot, tuck your toes, stretch into the back of the left foot and lower leg. And let that foot come up, toes pointing straight down, reaching forward with your right arm, thumb pointing up, maybe lifting the top of your right foot right off the floor. A little more challenging with the core. And releasing and circling in one direction and the other. And then let's just try once. We'll come to the right side. We'll keep the right knee and hand on the floor. And we'll lengthen back with the left foot and forward with the left arm. So you're just leaning to the right and doing it on one side instead of with a diagonal. And release. It's a little different to get used to that. Circling it out, and then we'll come to the left. So finding left knee, left hand, lifting your right leg. Really press back through the heel, and then maybe you can lift your right arm. trying to keep your hips square so you're not lifting too much on the right side. And release. That gets easier if you just do it a couple times. We just aren't used to doing it. So let's just do it again, just to test my theory. So lean to the right, lift your left foot, press back through the heel, lift your left hand. So you're on right knee and right hand. You can also try lifting the top of your right foot, and then release. And then we'll try the other side. So leaning into the left knee and left hand, lifting your right leg, keeping the hips square, maybe lifting right arm. Try to lift up out of the floor too, so you're not sagging into the left shoulder. And releasing. I'm just noticing if it was actually a little bit easier the second time through. There's some systems of yoga where they do everything twice. Let's come back to down dog just to kind of ease out our back for a moment. And just take a couple breaths in downward dog. And then we'll walk forward, coming into the forward bend. So bending your knees quite a bit, you might be able to tuck your palms underneath the balls of your feet, letting the toes kind of come up onto the wrists. So the knees can be bent, you can slowly straighten and feel your feet pressing into your wrists. Maybe letting the head relax a bit and the neck traction some. And just keeping the knees bent as much as you need to. If that's too much, just don't put your hands underneath your feet. And then just releasing, taking a couple breaths, unbound. And then walking your feet about the width of the mat and coming into your squat. So coming to a pretty deep squat and maybe pressing your elbows into your knees. So finding length in the spine. Finding your breath, nice steady Ujjayi breathing. And then we'll come into crow. So hands are pretty wide. And we come forward, making a little shelf with our upper arms, lifting feet, keeping your long spine. And then bring the feet down, come back into your squat. And then bring your seat down. Actually, before you do that, try, see if you can get your right shoulder into the inner thigh on the right side or into the knee and just take a little twist. So trying to stay balanced. And then try the other side. Left shoulder into left knee, opening up. Keeping a long spine, keeping the breath. And releasing the arm. And then we'll sit down as gracefully as possible. Bring your feet into cobbler's pose for a moment. Might reach for your feet. You could try like opening the soles of your feet like a book. And then maybe you're coming forward. Sometimes it's nice to bring your hands back here and just let the feet open instead of pulling on the feet. Letting your knees drop towards the floor. Breathing. And then perhaps your feet could come even further forward. So this would be more like tortoise, Karmasana. And maybe you could round forward. So round, making the upper back wide, bringing the head towards the soles of the feet, and breathing. Feeling your back is really expansive and wide. Belly's lifting. And coming out of that, we'll straighten the legs forward. coming into this seated staff pose. So maybe your hands can come to the floor and you can find this L shape with your body. And then reaching forward with your arms, just rolling yourself back down. So try tucking your pelvis under. Try it in a curling way so that your belly's drawing in, legs are staying down, and your head is the last thing to come down. Reaching up overhead, stretching. And then drawing your knees in towards your chest. Just rocking a little, making little circles with your knees. And then bringing the arms out to the sides. Let's just do a couple of simple pieces of core work. So the feet will come straight up. You can bend your knees if you need to, but keep the legs from coming in towards your chest. And then let your legs go side to side, keeping sacrum pinned to the floor. So you're using your lower belly muscles, lower back muscles, obliques on the sides of the belly to control these movements. So go slowly without using momentum, just using your muscular strength to stop the movement of the legs as it comes over. One foot kind of slides down the inner ankle on the other side. A couple more times. Try to keep the upper body sort of relaxed. So the action's happening in the center of your body. Sacrum stays pinned. Might be building some warmth in your belly. And then just draw the knees into the chest. And we'll just do one more. So again, arms out to the sides, feet up. You can turn your toes out, bring your heels together. Exhale. Let's say inhale your right heel towards the floor. And exhale back up as you press your tailbone down. Inhale the other heel towards the floor, press tailbone, exhale back up, and just go side to side like that. Again, going slowly, so less momentum, more muscular effort. Couple more times. Keeping the upper body fairly relaxed and heavy. One more time on each side. Maybe hovering the heel for a moment. And same thing on the other side. Pressing tailbone in. You might draw your belly in and lengthen your belly. And then draw the knees in. Rocking a little bit side to side. Bring your feet the width of your mat. Arms out to the sides. And let your knees drop side to side. Go slow. Kind of like you're massaging your low back and your hips a little bit with this. Next time the knees come to the right, just let them stay there. You can pick up your right ankle, put it on top of your left knee, or not, either way. Breathing, just letting yourself kind of settle back towards the floor, moving towards Shavasana, towards our final resting pose. And then releasing your right ankle from the left knee, bringing the feet back to mat width and letting knees drop over towards the left. Maybe left ankle on top of right knee. Upper body stays heavy and relaxed. Letting that stretch all the way down the right side of the waistline and hip into the thigh. And release the foot and come all the way back up. Draw your knees in. Let's come to happy baby pose. And you might like rocking in happy baby side to side, just like little babies do. You can always bring the hands, if it's too hard to reach your feet, you can bring your hands on the insides of your thighs also. Just rolling a little bit. I could do this for a long time. Feels good on my back. And then releasing your feet, and let's keep the right knee drawn in and just take an easy twist, bringing your right knee over towards the left. This will be our final pose. And then we'll move into our final relaxation, Shavasana. You might be looking back over your right shoulder. And then drawing that right knee in one more time, just kind of squeezing it in. And then we'll release and extend the right leg and draw the left knee in. Feeling the deep fold at the front of your hip. And then taking the twist to the other side. That was my lower back. That just made that popping noise if you heard it. And breathing here, looking back over your left shoulder to complete the twist. And then just gently rolling back onto your back for one last time with the knees drawn in. And then just extending your legs and your arms down by your sides, the backs of your hands to the floor. You might tuck your shoulder blades underneath a little bit so that the front of the chest can be open. We won't be here for long, but make yourself comfortable, and maybe you can close your eyes. Just feeling the breath. And letting yourself be here on your back for a few moments in corpse pose, Shavasana. Feeling the effects of your practice. Letting your practice integrate. So if there's anything that you felt didn't serve you tonight, you can kind of just let it sink away from you, leaving you. Just allowing the things that felt beneficial to kind of stay with you and to become more integrated into your body, mind, and spirit. Feeling how soft and relaxed your breath is. Feeling the rise and fall of your chest and your belly. And then you might begin to bend the knees. You could draw your knees in towards your chest and roll onto your side, either side. And just bringing this nice, relaxed body back to your seat. Sitting up tall. Feeling the heaviness of your seat on the floor, feeling your spine lengthening up. You might close your eyes. Bringing your hands together at your heart and just taking a couple of balanced breaths to close. You might bow your head to your heart, to your own practice, your own inner teacher, your higher self, or your higher power. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining in tonight. And you can hear that, I should say namaste. And you can hear the noise is picking up a little bit on this Friday night in the U District. So things are starting to slowly open back up here in our state. Just kind of a soft opening. I don't think, I guess we call it phase 2. So there'll be some changes here, which we'll be, we'll be announcing. But we've really just been so pleased to have this community be strong through this whole last couple of months during the pandemic, and we really appreciate your support and your practice. What a great time to work on our practices. I think when we come back out into the world, we're going to be so happy we stayed with our yoga practices. Namaste. Thank you, Sasha. Have a great Friday night.